coming the first time to visit Kiaru and see by themselves what CDF is doing for Kiaru people under your oversight. And I think as a person who has seen it, I know it is good. The gentleman from Nyando, the Honorable Jared Okello.
I thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Allow me from the outset to welcome back my colleagues and the Office of the Speaker and the Secretariat in general, having been at home during our recess for the last 2 months. On the same breath, Honorable Speaker, allow me to express our collective frustration and resentment as a House on this matter of NG-CDF. Before we went home for our recess, Honorable Speaker, the CS Treasury did make an undertaking that from the 9th day of December 2022, 2 billion shillings were to be expended to our accounts every week, which by now, Honorable Speaker, our accounts should be having, every individual constituency account should be having 80 million shillings, Honorable Speaker. The Cabinet Secretary has walked on all the promises, walked back on all the promises he has made, and up to until the time we showed up in Mombasa during our induction and staged a small go-slow, we had not received anything, Honorable Speaker. This House is a co-equal branch of government with the executive and together with the judiciary. This House has gone into lengths to midwife and legislate pieces from the executive without any delay or any ordinary delay. But here we are, executive makes promises to us that are never respected, Honorable Speaker. Today, they will be coming out asking us to pass the supplementary budget, number 1, supplementary budget 1 of 2022-2023. I want to ask this House to refuse to pass this supplementary budget until the entire NG-CDF monies are wired into our accounts. Why do I say this? Most of our children who solely depend on the bursaries are still holed up at homes without any recourse. And we are here passing every piece of legislation and every agenda from the executive. I want this House to stand strong and refuse this supplementary budget until all the monies are submitted. Back to the course, Honorable Speaker. There are 4 issues that have been raised by William Samoei Ruto as regards the memorandum to the Speaker of the National Assembly. And that is on oversight, Office of the Official Opposition, NG-CDF, and the gender representation, Honorable Speaker. Now, if you read Article 255 of our Constitution, apart from the NG-CDF, all these must go through a referendum. All of them, Honorable Speaker. And NG-CDF, as you did allude to, Honorable Speaker, during your contribution, there is nothing illegal about NG-CDF. There is nothing unconstitutional about the NG-CDF Act of 2015. But we still want to strive to anchor it in law so that it can be solidified in a way that no court in this republic would once again tinker with it or throw it out or disturb it, as we have seen in the recent past, Honorable Speaker. So I'm very much afraid that if we carry out an omnibus legislation and include NG-CDF in the proposals as advanced by the President, then this NG-CDF as an act may face, the wrath together with all these 3 that have been presented by the President. And therefore, I ask that let us decipher issues. If it is about NG-CDF, let it be a stand-alone advancement of proposed legislation. Let us not lump it up with the rest that probably are likely to face a problem with the judiciary branch of our government, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I would ask that even as JLAC retreats to look into this, let NG-CDF be a stand-alone. Let it not be together with the rest, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it shouldn't be lost on us that why BBI's fate died at the Supreme Court is because the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, did gazette a team that was going around the country to collect views as far as changing certain constitutional issues happened then. And therefore, the mere fact that the president gazetted that team, the entire BBI died in the hands of the 7 judges. Now, President Uhuru only gazetted and did not do anything else. We have been invited by William Ruto by way of a letter to the Speaker of the National Assembly. And not only that he has written a letter, he has included a memorandum, and he has also suggested areas where these changes should be made. I'm very much afraid that if this goes before a court of law, and indeed it will, through the civic society or the civil society, this thing will be dead on arrival, just because President Ruto is putting his hands in the changes of our Constitution, Honorable Speaker. And we also need to see the amendments for what they are. There has been a proposal to bring in cabinet secretaries in this House. What does that therefore mean? That the work of oversight committees are going to be dead. Because what will be the role of PSC? What will be the role of PIC? If those cabinet secretaries can personally present themselves before this House, Honorable Speaker. And this is an elaborate process of killing the role of the opposition. You do understand that when you talk about PIC, when you talk about PSC, and all the oversight committees, it is only the opposition that occupy and dominate these committees, Honorable Speaker. And by so killing these oversight committees, you inevitably kill the opposition. So on this other hand, we are being conned to get into this trap so that we can allow ministers to come here, killing the oversight roles, but at the same time we are told, by the way, we also need the role of official opposition leader in the House. I mean, I think we are smarter than that, Honorable Speaker, to be brought into this conundrum. Honorable Speaker, this is something that will go before the Republic, and Kenyans will have to voice their concerns on this matter. I do not know how prepared Kenyans are to increase 100 female gender into this House, 100 of them, and how that feeds into the national budget at a time when the country is suffering, and not less than a cabinet secretary in charge of Treasury has come out to say this country is broke. And you are also saying at the same time that let us bring in 100 more women into the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, in order to cure this, because again, it is important that this House is balanced, why can't we compel political parties that during their nomination processes have equal number of women as those of men inside this House, so that at the end of the day, we do not lump up more additional budgets into the House, but only cure the number of women to be brought into this House by way of political parties, Honorable Speaker. And by that, we are going to adhere to the law, and we are going to sidestep this idea of pumping in additional 10 billion shillings into the budget of this National Assembly or of the Senate, Honorable Speaker. And with that, I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. The Honorable David Gikaria, the person under whose charge our environment is protected.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and my good friend, Honorable Kaluma. First of all, Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this motion. And Honorable Speaker, when you're giving your remarks or you're giving your contributions, Honorable Speaker, I really followed keenly. And to some extent, you did convince me on one of the aspects as to what you alluded to, the fact that we need to look at these things critically so that, again, it doesn't land in the courts. And again, it is thrown out just because of a few legal technicalities. Honorable Speaker, the other thing that I agree with you is that you did say that we look, this is only, the President is inviting us to give our views on what he thinks. And it's not a bill, it's just a request by the President. Look at this. And of course, our President is a gentleman. He's not Mr. Know-it-all. He will pick a few things from you. He'll pick a few things from me. The next, he'll pick a few from Beatrice and others. And he will say yes to the fact that if we are actually true in a presidential system, then how do you bring in opposition in Parliament? And this is something that the President is going to look critically into those things and be able to make a decision by the time now when it comes to the actual legislation. The last thing that I also agree with you, Honorable Speaker, is that we should look at this thing devoid of politics. Let us avoid politics when you are discussing this so that you can be able, because sometimes we play to the gallery, we forget about what this House is meant to do. And I totally agree with you that, Honorable Speaker, we need to look at this request devoid of politics so that we can be able to give our best. Did the President mean well when he made this request and through a memorandum? And I want to say yes. He meant well for this country. He has seen what is ailing this country. It doesn't matter. He has just given us a proposal. It is for us now to improve on what he has given us so that we can be able to achieve what he intends to bring to this country. Thirdly, the third is that the President himself has checked and seen what is ailing this country, and he wants to bring those changes so that we can be able to. But the first thing that, Honorable Speaker, I want to address is, and it has been said here by different speakers, as to whether we need to have a referendum. And Honorable Speaker, and I've learned a lot from you, from Honorable Otiende and others, is that, Honorable Speaker, if you look at Article 255, Article 255 gives us the amendment of this Constitution. And, Honorable Speaker, it says a proposed amendment to this Constitution shall be enacted in accordance with Article 256, which I think it is through Parliament, or 257, which is a referendum, and approved in accordance with Clause 2 by a referendum, where it gives the procedure of what collect 25%, some millions of signatures, things like that. If the amendment relates in any of the following mandates. And Honorable Speaker, this is where we really need to look at as members of Parliament, so that we also look at, and we also, even as we are talking, Honorable Speaker, this country has become a country of politics almost every other day. That we have just finished. Again, now we need to be, so that again we try to see, do we go the parliamentary way so that we avoid the whole of politics that comes with that in a referendum. Honorable Speaker, one of the issues that has to go for a referendum is that if it touches on the supremacy of this Constitution, and that is under 255 1A. 2, the territories, of course. I'm going to look at C, the sovereignty of the people. D, the national values and principles of governance referred in Article 10, 2A to D. Honorable Speaker, I'm not going to bring that. E, the Bill of Rights. F, the terms of office of the President. G, the independence of the judiciary, and it goes on. The functions of Parliament. I, the objects, principle, and structure of devolved government, and it goes on and it goes on. Honorable Speaker, it is important for us to look at if this proposed will need to go to a referendum or we need to address and do the amendments here. And those are the critical issues that we need to look at. Secondly, Article, of course, 255(2) gives the process of how a referendum should be undertaken. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, what we need to ask ourselves is that as the President is doing this, we go back to the Constitution again, Honorable Speaker, and we look at the authority of the President. That is enshrined in this Constitution. We look at also the functions of the President. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, we look at the decisions of the President. Again, these are going to inform us as we look at what the President has proposed and whether he's, he's legislating or whether it is also a requirement by law that he can be able to do what he has just done. And Honorable Speaker, if we look at Article 131, Honorable Speaker, Article 131, Article 131, 1E, is that the President, that is Article 131, says the President, and E says is a symbol of national unity. Is he doing this for purposes of individual gains or as a symbol of to bring a national unity? Yes, Honorable Speaker, I think that is what the President is doing. If we look at the same Article 131, 2C, Honorable Speaker, it says that the President shall promote and enhance the unity of this nation. And again, Honorable Speaker, when I look at the proposals that he has brought, all the proposals are there. That is exactly what the President has been given a mandate by this Constitution to be able to undertake. And those are the things at the end of the day is what we will be checking so that we can be able to. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, is Article 132, and those are the functions of the President. And what is this, the function of the President? Under Article 132, 1C, the President shall, and it says once in a year. Let me go to the particular one where I want to refer, is Article 132, 1C, subclause 1, or Roman 1, sorry. And it says once a year, the President report in an address to the nation on all the measures taken and the progress achieved in realization of the national values referred to. And that is also a function that, and has the President done that, Honorable Speaker? Yes, that is what has been done, Honorable Speaker. If you look at Article 132, 2B, and it says the President shall nominate and with the approval of the National Assembly, appoint any and dismiss. Article 132, 2B is the Attorney General in accordance with Article 152. And what is the Attorney General's function? Is to advise, is a legal advisor to government and the President. And I doubt whether the Attorney General has not done his part to be able to give the President that aspect of legislation. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, is 132.4, where it says, Honorable Speaker,
Honorable David Gikaria, thank you for ending your presentations. You are reminding me of the late Honorable William Chepkut, who would recite all those provisions without reference. Would we have the gentleman from Kitutu Masaba, the Honorable Clive Gesario?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to also contribute to these proposals by the President. Mr. Speaker, I will start with the most touching element here, which is the NG-CDF. All speakers who've spoken here today have spoken on the importance of NG-CDF.